Well, how are you doing, folks? This is a very special recording. This is the first attempt. Hopefully, you'll be able to see us and interact with us across multiple platforms as we're recording episode 21 tonight. Myself and my co-host, Mr. Maca, is going to be chatting shit for the next hour or so, maybe 2 hours if you're lucky. But yeah, well, hopefully you'll be able to see us across YouTube, Facebook, and now our new Twitch channel. Hello, Twitchers.
Hello,
Twitchers probably isn't the best term for it.
In actual fact, I'm quite curious to see how many people are watching us at any point in time. So I'm going to see if I can pull up a viewer count.
Pull up.
Viewer count. Let's go and have a look at this.
All right, let's see what this goes like. We're unsure as to how comments are going to appear on this, so we're going to be looking at other feeds to ensure that we can gather comments as people jump in and say hello. Oh, there you go. If you just put, I can see on the that's cool.
We've got somebody
that's
on
cool.
YouTube. Yeah.
Hello, people
YouTube.
watching us on YouTube.
This is very lame, but who gives a fuck?
Hey, this is all it's a learning curve. This is like 0.5.2. If you know what I mean. If people get that first episode that we did, which was very rough and raw, and it was just me and Maca trying to learn the ropes and figure out what the hell we were doing. And this is, the spiritual sequel to that. Anyway, I haven't awkwardly asked you how you're doing today. Oh.
Laurie Coombs likes the stream. Is it Laurie? I've got to make that bigger, or I'm not going to be able to see that. Hello, Wolf.
Wolfie. See, it sucks. Can't see comments going out from the output on the Facebook.
Okay, this is better. Yeah, this is a lot better.
Hello there.
Yeah, you see, there'll be a slight delay because obviously it's going to come up in real time for me. But Simpa's watching it on the stream along with you guys, so
you know what we should do for next time, because we are going to do more of this once we crack this down. I'm going to get your phone, and you're going to put it on video call or something. So I put my phone here, and I can watch your screen live, because that will be faster than it will update through and round onto the output.
Subtitles when we speak, Ben.
Ben, subtitles are annoying. It must be something on your settings, I'm guessing there, Ben.
Yeah, maybe. Have a check that you don't have captions enabled on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube.
People, if you would like to watch us on Twitch, as I said, this is our debut stream on Twitch. You can go over to, I think it's twitch.tv/the Simpa Life. Go give us a subscribe and a follow and check it out. We're going to be doing some more live stuff over there. Not quite sure what we'll be filling our time with, but we will be live over there at various points throughout the year. I like this.
Yeah, it is. It's also very distracting, but in a sort of a good way. But just to sort of go back to the question that you were talking about with the screen, I think there's a way that we can I can feed this in. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to turn that volume down because that's gonna interrupt my train of thought. Every time somebody likes the stream, it comes up.
Ding.
Kind of like, ding.
It is, because I'm looking at you still gestating and talking on the other screen there. The delay is quite strong.
It's a couple of seconds, I'd say. It's not too bad, but we'll definitely figure it out, I think.
Alan's saying he's also got subtitles on his.
Now, is that on which platform is that on? Is that on
Evening Wolfie? I believe they'll be on Facebook.
How about that? What? There's actually subtitles on Facebook. Is it because I'm Irish? Is this some racist thing?
So I suppose I'm Geordie and Northern, so between us, I imagine a lot of people will be struggling to hear.
I'm gonna try not to do that, considering the delay as well. So I'm gonna try and shout out people as they say it, but obviously delay is hard.
Yeah, watch the live stream, the same stream that I'm watching for comments, and if you get questions from the other one, I know that means you're watching like 3 screens. Hey, we've just got our first person on Twitch. Big up Twitch people. Hello, how are you doing, folks? We're relatively, I suppose, old men at this, trying to get down with the youngins on Twitch, but we see that they've softened their approach towards cannabis consumption and whatnot recently, so we're going to try and enjoy that platform too. How do, Sean?
Yeah, I started doing some low-key gaming on Twitch because it just looked fun. I'm trying not to get too obsessed with the growth because there's an awful lot to it, like, kind of a thing, and it's not the same as any of the other social medias. It doesn't it doesn't react the same way. You can't use hashtags and all that kind of stuff. You've got to
sell it on your charisma
yeah,
as well.
but you're
A lot more. You know what I mean? You can't hack the system.
Yeah, but you're building a community really at that point. But that's how it's different. Where you can willy-nilly follow people, but you know that kind of way for people to actually come and consistently watch your stream. It's a different thing. You've got to acknowledge people. You've got to say hello. You've got to do all of those things. You know that kind of way. So this should be fun to kind of figure out the intricacies and the differences between just going live on Facebook and whatnot.
Well, we were looking a bit last minute with going on Instagram as well and a few other sort of platforms, and it's quite complex, but we're slowly figuring our way around. But after our interaction with the guys from the High and Homegrown podcast recently, we kind of decided that we wanted to be doing another live, and the opportunity came up with, unfortunately, last minute cancellation of a guest, which we'll be rebooking for hopefully later on in the month, fingers crossed. So yeah, we're obviously decided to throw ourselves in the deep end, as we always do here at the Simpa Life. And yeah, we're just going to give this a go. Apparently subtitles are only on Facebook, and Wolfie is saying there is a delay between YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, I suggest picking one and just sticking with it. Like, you obviously go in between and give us a like and a follow if you can. That's always appreciated, but obviously just settle in one go. I'm like a child with new toys here. I'm going to have to find in some other stuff.
What else can you stick on the screen here? Because I'm enjoying this counter here. Could we make the comments bigger when they come up?
Oh, yeah. Let me do that first.
I was going to say, I'm struggling to read that.
Shit. Hang on. Let me get rid of that for a second.
Yeah, there's nothing going to be on Instagram, unfortunately. We haven't figured out what's this thing? My sample goal.
I'm going to put up a little goal, and it's going to go live. And we're going to try and get on our first stream 10 Twitch followers. Now that's fucking ambitious, to say the least. Big up, Barry.
I wonder how many of our followers and likers, subscribers, sharers, enjoyers of our content on other platforms would be willing to go over. If you already have a Twitch account, please do, like I said, go and
it's fun.
Help us fill it up. Oh, that's cool. I got a little zombie.
Yeah, that's the little notification. So we can probably swap that out for a Simpa Life logo, but that's the default one for now.
I'm gonna apologize in advance to anybody listening to this on Spotify in the future that's not gonna have the benefit of me just commenting on Maca having fun throwing graphics around as we try and figure out this screen like two fucking monkeys trying to figure out fire.
Yeah, but what I will say is it's incentive to come and actually watch one of the videos, which will obviously be on 2 platforms now. It'll be, well, by default, they'll be on, 3 actually, because we put them on Facebook. But, you know, it'll be recorded. It'll be out on next Monday on YouTube as per normal. But obviously Twitch will hold on to this for a while. So,
yeah, how long do videos stick around on Twitch?
I think it's 14 days, but it might be a bit longer than that, dependent on where you are in the echelon of Twitch affiliation or whatever that is. I honestly, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but I have a fucking clue.
Just keep using the fancy words and sprinkle the Irish in there. No one knows the difference. That just says to me that we have to do something basically every 2 weeks then to remain and build up an actual body of content on the page. So we're going to have to rope ourselves into some fun here. I didn't quite like the idea we discussed with the guys from Percy's Grow Room, the High and Homegrown podcast. They do a film club, you know, with live stream along, sort of sit and watch movies. I think that's quite a good thing to potentially look at for Twitch as well as a platform. What do you guys think that's watching us live across our various platforms right now? Live on YouTube. What a treat. Evening, chaps. Evening, Chris. Evening. I'm still trying to figure out what this goal is. My sample goal.
I'm sorry. I'm doing it. This is why I'm like completely.
Do you expect me to live stream here for 73,346 days?
Yeah, no. Basically, we now have this little fucking thing where I'm gonna put it up here. It's not a 60-day thing. I'm gonna obviously. Do you know what? Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to keep berating you until you get this right.
No, this is fun. Because basically, we don't have any followers on Twitch at all. We've just started. But if anybody actually watching does follow us, this will update live if you can see it on your screen. So if you're looking at this simple, this follower goal is pretty self-explanatory. We have 0. If we get to 10, excited. It fills. Fantastic.
Oh, I'm excited.
Evening, is it?
It's what?
It's not. I'm reading out some comments. I'm gonna make them larger here. Stool sample. All right, that's completely out of context, Chris, for me. But I like where you're going.
Hey, that's bigger. That's better. I like it.
Is that better? Yeah.
A little bit more. A little bit more. Can we go a little bit
more.
bigger?
You want more?
Yeah. Yeah. One more. Keep it in the center as well. I think center looks good. Evening, Jess.
Evening, Jess. Is it all the way over to the left a bit? Okay, that's cool.
To the left. To the left. See, it's weird because I'm still watching you from like 5%. When I'm looking down at this, watching you do this, I'm reacting to you.
This is future Maca. Future Maca. Rob that from the mighty bush.
Man, that is a fucking mental program. So anyway, I've just got completely caught up in all of the fun of this live. One thing I did want to do at the start of this was it's really cool. Was do a shout out to an update on some of the statistics that we've got from now of the audio only podcast. Since we did the Women of Weed episode, we've actually doubled our female listenership, which is something good to celebrate today on International Women's Day. We've just surpassed 1,100 downloads as well via Spotify, Apple, and Google. So big up everyone that's been downloading and listening. Thank you as always, guys. And we've now developed, you'll be happy to know, Maca, a 5% listener base in Ireland.
5, so that's up from
5.
1. That's up
We've
from 1.
got up from 1. So your beratement on Twitter
4% increase
is working, and
yeah.
we do have some Irish guests lined up soon, some Northern Irish guests as well. So that will increase. We've actually increased our listenership in Jersey. Now is 2%, a solid listener base, and we've actually got a 1% listenership in Turkey. We've gained several more randomized nations as well. Some of which I will imagine will be legit, but quite a lot of them will be VPNs. So we've developed a few listeners in Germany, Israel, Netherlands, Italy, and then we've got quite a few we've got sort of markers going off in Finland, in Mongolia, in Colombia, and I can't remember what the other one is because I can't read my handwriting at this angle.
Mongolia, fucking shout out, respect.
Yeah, Mongolia was one of the first ones that came up, though, as an oddity, and it's been consistent. So either we do have a listener out there, or it is a VPN that just keeps triggering through the same way.
A consistent VPN.
Yeah, hell of a consistent VPN.
Okay, so this is cool. So I can see on my side, and we've got to figure this out. They don't disappear. The comments don't disappear for me, so I can see everything come through at once. So all the Facebook stuff. It's predominantly Facebook. But yeah, it's quite cool.
Evening, Barry. Didn't you say hello, Barry, like 10 minutes ago? It's just appeared on the screen over here.
What?
It is. It's really cool. Like the list of the listeners on our podcast is so cool. Our diversity in age as well. We've actually now peaked. We've now got 2% in the over 60s. Shout out to my over 60s.
VPN man. It's like the lamest superhero ever.
But it needs to be a relevant superhero because, as I was mentioning before the recording of this, I've been sat here doing shit for the past couple of hours on YouTube. You know, when it's sidebars. And it ended up on a random interview with this that Harvard professor, I can't even say her name, Shoshana Zuboffo, and she wrote that book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. And so we were talking about this just before we started, about sort of how Google Earth was originally sort of based off the back of a project that was funded by the CIA initially. And how the what we've considered to be sort of excess data has now become more valuable than oil and gold. So actually it'd be a very relevant time to have somebody like VPN man going around protecting people so that they can actually stop having their data used against them or weaponized against them.
I see what you did there. All right.
See, I went around and back. Yeah. I went around and back. Leads into another conversation that I don't know if you want to have now, but we've had it as a topic for quite a while. The superhero analogy.
Yeah, I was literally about to, very smoothly for me, segue into that, and then I got distracted by a comment coming up. So Wolfie saying that there's a 10-second plus delay between comments in Facebook and then them showing up as subtitles. Oh, right. So hang on, we're not actually. Are we actually talking about subtitles here, or are we talking about just the comments appearing? Oh, captions. So it is. I'm so fucking confused. Sorry.
It's weird because I don't have captions, or I'm watching my screen here is via the Simpa Life Facebook page,
Yeah, I'm
and I
actually gonna.
don't have captions.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look and see as well because obviously, if it's annoying, I want to
Yeah.
sort this out.
Oh, 2 viewers on Twitch.
Oh,
Two
hey!
whole viewers on Twitch.
Nice.
Hello, Twitch folks. Well, brand new to your platform.
Just because you've joined, yes, I have loads of words. I'll put that on the back burner for a second. But yeah, just to go back to what you were saying about about the previous conversation, which was superheroes. What was the actual prose that I put to you? Do you remember?
The question that the question that you posed after I think a 2.5 hour long recording of a podcast was can superhero movies and stories be read as an analogy for prohibition?
Oh yeah, the failure of the war on drugs and stuff. Yeah. I was thinking about that, right? So basically, if you think about it, right, take any superhero that you may have idolized as a child. An easy one for me is Superman, right? There's countless stories, of course there is, yeah, but it never comes to a resolution. Do you know what I mean? Superheroes don't actually solve anything. Think about it. There's always another bad guy, right? Just as it would be for, say, prohibition, say, right? Oh, we need to crack down on the war on drugs. We need to go and attack, arrest all of these people, clean them up off of the streets. For what? For the next episode to happen in the superhero analogy. Do you know what I mean? For somebody else to just pop in and do the same fucking thing. So yeah, I think they could be some sort of contextual relatability and on a subliminal level, I guess. Do you know what I mean? That could be an interesting. I don't know. What do you think?
I think there's a lot to explore within it. Sort of the perpetuation of the narrative. It's kind of like Tom and Jerry sort of episode-esque in the narrative almost doesn't matter. What matters is the archetype, the structure of it. Do you know what I mean? And then as the viewer, I think there's something to the idea of it almost indoctrinating us into the idea that authority is somehow deserving of excessive power and to be able to wield that power on us because of it has it. Do you know what I mean? That it's entitled to do it because of it. There's then another sort of point of it, which is, I think, something we briefly touched on that night when you asked us the question, and it's been a while since obviously we've been meaning to discuss this, was say someone like the Joker or those kind of villains that are then created through an exposure to something happens to them. They have these terrible lives, and then there's this terrible event, and then all of a sudden they become bad people, and every action that they engage in is bad. And then so the good guy, who is good by the nature of being good, can commit bad, as in violence and whatever else, onto that person because the nature of that person makes them bad. And so that could then be read as an analogy for then if they are a drug user or a drug consumer, they then become evil. They become the bad, which is the opposite to the good, which we're supposed to root for. Therefore, you kind of go, that they deserve to have the shit kicked out of them. So when you watch Batman knock like 15 dudes who had just paid their minimum fucking wage, trying to get some money together, you know what I mean, to keep the fucking meals on the table for the kids. You know, Gotham's a harsh place. Rent is high, crime is fucking high. You know what I mean? So they're taking the jobs that are available. You know, it comes with a shit pension. They've got very little healthcare, and this masked vigilante falls out of the fucking sky and goes, "You work with this dude, and you're associated to this thing that I don't like, so therefore I'm allowed to commit violence to you."
And it always sort of comes back to the restoration of the current status of whatever society happens to be at that point in time, right? It's like these villains have come in to disrupt all of this comfort that is given to you or whatever, you know. How dare they like act outside of the mold and you know, break convention and do or think differently, or you know. And I don't know, it's I'm probably grasping at straws a bit, like, but you know, you could definitely put that swing on it. Do you know
I think it's true. I mean, if you look at the start of the war on drugs in America, a lot of the Marvel characters and whatever else were weaponized as part of the Just Say No campaign of Nancy Reagan under the Reagan era. We've always seen this kind of how do you sort of describe this? Trojan horsing of ideas and philosophies through medium and art. And growing up as a kid, I was always drawn to things like even say wrestling and whatever else because of the narrative, and then was drawn to sort of superheroes and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and whatever else because it was sort of people that were put in an abnormal situation were then given the ability to do something and chose to do good with it.
Yeah.
The idea of good and bad wasn't so concrete in my head as a child in that way, but it was then they had power to inflict their version of good. So therefore that was it. That was a good thing. That was something to aspire to, something to want. And I never really questioned, well, why is what they're doing bad? Why is the bad guy the bad guy? You just assume to then be subservient to the authority and then go, well, they must be right because of the law, which is the narrative I get from so many people around cannabis, which is that cannabis is bad. Why? Because it's illegal. Why is it illegal? Because it's bad. They can't question the narrative. They go, well, the police wouldn't lie to us. The government wouldn't lie to us. The establishment wouldn't lie to us. It must be wrong and bad and dangerous. And so, yeah, I definitely think there is sort of something to that. And what you sort of the first point was around that perpetuation of that narrative, that it's yin and yang, it's night and day, it's the binary concepts of modern storytelling, that by the nature of the good guy existing, the bad guy will exist, because otherwise there wouldn't be a good guy. You know, you can only see the light of day after sleeping in the dark. Otherwise, if you stay all the time in the light, you don't know what darkness is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's implicative. Well, the entirety of our language is that, though. Do you know that kind of way? Like, from simple things like you can't have an inside without an outside.
Well, yeah, but in this sense, what I'm saying is that what is the bad thing here? So if we're then saying that the superheroes are the stories and their narrative is an analogy for the war on drugs, which is worse? The authoritarianism of a system going, we don't like what you're doing, so we'll inflict violence on you to try and stop it, even though it's a futile gesture that will just continue with next week's episode. So which is the bad guy? Because is it not then the Superman arising and then people going, holy fuck, this man shouldn't have this much power? And what is
exactly.
it? The League Justice? What I can't remember what it is. The Suicide Squad. And that's a different movie, isn't it?
Well, Suicide Squad is about the bad guys, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a Suicide Squad-esque organization then gets together and goes, well, we need to deal with this motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's the power balance. So anytime that that this arises within this narrative, the people will then naturally rise to it. So I think the harder that prohibition goes in, the Superman, as it were, of prohibition, because of that, it's meeting an opposition of the people that are fighting the war on drugs. Do you know what I mean? And if there wasn't that prohibition there wouldn't be the people. So look at heroin consumption. We know in the UK there was 200 registered heroin consumers that were getting it through prescription, because then there was no illicit market because there was no need for it prior to the Misuse of Drugs Act coming into effect in 73 or whatever it was. And now look at where we are today. That's caused by the presence of Superman. Do you know what I mean? If Superman wasn't there, we wouldn't have had that amplification, because everyone's going to Superman. So therefore, because we know of good, we know what bad is. So therefore, look, more bad Superman, more bad. There's more bad Superman. There's more bad. You know what I mean? And we rely more on this system and we empower Superman more until everyone then turns around and goes, is this guy actually doing us any fucking good? Do you know what I mean? And that's what's kind of happened. So that's the analogy of what I'm drawing as a similarity, is the more we empower the war on drugs, we empower that Ubermensch in the fucking Nietzschean sort of way of describing it, or the godlike, demigod-like figure of authoritarianism, and we empower it to rule our lives and make decisions. Because we can't be bothered, or they're better than us by their nature, by their hierarchy or hereditary or any of that bullshit.
It is, yeah. No, I mean, for anybody joining us just now, because I've just seen the numbers go up. Basically, we haven't just blamed Superman for everything. There is some further context to it. So please, if you're just joining us now, do go back eventually and watch the start of that. Just a couple of shout outs, obviously. So,
evening, David.
Little Wolf, Sally, David. How's it going? Thanks for joining us. I'm probably really fucking loud. But
oh, go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, does anyone have any questions for us since we're live? This is one of the things you very rarely get to do in this new modern format that we're playing at. So if you do have any questions that you've been dying to ask us over the past 20 odd episodes, please do drop them on one of the comment sections below, wherever you are viewing this currently. It's nice to see that we do have viewers across all three platforms currently.
Yeah, that's
Still,
cool.
still haven't hit one subscriber on Twitch yet.
No.
So hello, person on Twitch that's currently watching us. I don't know where your button is on your screen, but I'm sure if you minimize it right now and you click on your little subscribe thing, and I will be forever ever grateful. Forever grateful. I want us to get at least if we can get one subscriber. You've aimed very high with 10 here, Maca. I'm gonna go more realistic and go for one. If we can hit one, I'll be happy.
I was saying that at the start. It is very it's a large number, especially for Twitch. It doesn't seem so large, you know, that kind of way. You could get 10 likes on fucking Instagram, no problem, whatever. Anything happening for 420?
No, unfortunately not. Speaking of a lot of the other clubs and a lot of the other organizations, we're still going to be under the 6-person rule. For all the will, theoretically, if we're following the right, what the fuck did they call it? Checkpoint roadmap. Then we should theoretically be able to do events from June. But 420, no one's really planning anything. I think there might be spontaneous sort of things where people get together in their own groups, but I don't know of any organized events by any of the main sort of players, clubs, or organizations that would previously put on those kind of events. It's looking like Green Pride have said that they're not going to be putting an event this year. Boroughfest are looking to put on an event at some point that's a bit smaller and a bit more controlled. Product Earth are looking to go ahead at the end of August. You've got Paradise Gardens, urban sort of, what have they described it? Urban lifestyle hydroponic road show or expo. One of them, Expo, I believe. Obviously, DCCC are looking to put on an event probably in July, August sort of time. I know Bournemouth are looking to put on an event as well. Hampshire are looking to put on their event on the 1st of August, which would be their 9th year, I think. Should have been their 10th, but obviously we didn't get any events last year because of COVID. But yeah, I mean, let's just smoke where we are, folks. Let's enjoy 420 in our hearts. Do you know what I mean? It was weird. Last 420, I think me and Herb enjoyed it in her back garden in beautiful sunshine, and we had a couple of drinks and just got absolutely blazed all goddamn day, and just enjoyed not working a 420 for once. You know what I mean?
Well, it'd be nice if we were able to actually celebrate it outdoors by that time.
Well, theoretically, we should be.
Yeah, but who's telling you that?
But that's on Boris's roadmap. If we follow those,
Boris's roadmap. Like, what has he given? Seriously, what fucking reassurances has he given you in recent history that would make you fucking believe a single fucking word that comes out of his mouth?
Well, me and Boris, you know, we're tight. When I was on the phone the other night, he was waffling on about it. No, there is no reassurance. There is no guarantee. There is no certainty with any of this. This is what I said. I remember doing a live stream not long after this time last year, saying that we'd kind of lost all certainty and that there was no fucking no day-to-day routine and normality that would be able to keep us kind of going. When I said that, I did not expect it to be a fucking year long. I mean, I think we've now ticked over from the start of the first national lockdown from last year, so we've now been a year of this shit intermittently. But yeah, the language that they've used, for all the Tories are fucking habitual liars and bullshitters and masters of rhetoric and the manipulation of language, the wording that they've used suggests that they can't allow this to continue. It's starting to harm their interests. There's only so many contracts they can give to their mates. There's only so many backhanded deals that they can make before it starts to harm their kids' futures, before it starts to harm their economy and their neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that was my initial suspicion as well. One possibility would be that either they have the data that tells them that we are out of the woods here, we really, really fucking are, and you know, all we need to do is just be fucking patient as we sort of live in hope, you know, that it will come. And that's sort of, I guess, a small bit reinforced by the panic that was induced by, was it another Brazilian variant, or maybe it was the same Brazilian variant that happened, and then they were like, oh shit, let's fucking lock everything down. And then they were like, there was like a manhunt and shit on, like, you know, like the TV show and whatnot, and they had it down to like a specific number as well.
It was like 300 and something households.
379. It was like, what, you couldn't even round it up to a nice 380 or whatever, like, you know, that kind of way. So
But right, if the past year has taught us anything, you cannot trust Tories and numbers. It's just bullshit. They're random words, and then they literally are just drawing from one of those old bingo sets and just going 2765. There you go. Do you know what I mean? Because we've known about the manipulation of statistics. They've had to sit on the mainstream news channels and admit that they've manipulated data. That they've selected the science to prove their ideology rather and their politics rather than what is for the betterment of people. They've then even admitted that they've completely fucked it up by recording every fucking death as a COVID death, effectively. Do you know what I mean? There's no way for them to
that. They made a massive
they've fucked everything. I mean, I was in somewhere the other day, a service station, and was looking at a track and trace flyer. I was like, when was the last time anybody used this? How has this been used? You got to think of the billions, the sheer fucking scale of money that was pissed away on this, and it's just it's ineffective. It's barely fucking used. People are not fucking following the goddamn rules. People are doing the bare minimum to avoid interaction, the same as we do every day. Do you know what I mean? If it can be resolved in a fucking text or an email, don't call me. That's just the mentality of people. So it's like, fine, I'll put a fucking mask and I'll quickly go and get in and do the thing, but then fuck you. Do you know what I mean? People will be seen to be observant.
But that has been the sort of my everyday life predominantly has been like that. If I need to go outside, exactly how you've described. I have it down to a fucking T. Do you know what I mean? Grab the mask, in and out, no faffing around, no touching nothing. I mean, I even wear gloves. I wear gloves, and I don't see an awful lot of people doing it. They're only fucking garden gloves or whatever, but it's just to minimize. It's not that I think that everybody's disgusting. In actual fact, I think I'm more disgusting than anybody else, so it's me that's protecting you. But it's not because of that. It's more of a case of I don't like to unconsciously think about unconsciously touching something that, you know, and then putting it to my mouth or to my nose, and that just minimizes that. And I still wash my hands when I come back. Now, I mean, that isn't something I obsess about by any stretch. It's more of a case of I've decided upon that early, and that just became a pattern. It just became, that's what I do.
So would there become a point that you would feel comfortable to reduce that? Well, would it just be sort of when the guidelines change? Would it then just be a case of?
It's not so much the guidelines change. It's seeing it in action more so. I mean, my hesitant tendency to sort of come out of the how do I say it? It's static, but it's not sort of set in stone, if that makes sense. What I mean is the patterns and the things that I've decided to do, I've done them because I don't have to think about them incessantly. I don't have to oscillate about them over and over and over.
So if you've then set a standard base, you don't have to. It's almost like anxiety management.
It's anxiety management.
I don't need to know what tier you're in, whatever else we're in. Here's what I need to do to keep myself.
Exactly. So here's the thing. I basically because of how problematic fucking social media is on mental health, and I've suffered a really, really bad week of it. Lost my hair tie, sorry. What was I saying? Lost my train of thought again. Hair tie's gone, train of thought's out the fucking window. What was I saying?
COVID.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, so I check, I've gotten to a point where I check in. I check in for signs of solid change, be it good or be it bad, if that makes sense. So I don't want to hear about anything wishy-washy. This may work, this may not work. I'll check in when the result comes in, not in like, you know, right at the end or anything like that. And then I sort of adjust what I'm doing at that point, and then go back into an updated pattern. Mm-hmm. And once I have that updated pattern, I'm again in that sort of anxiety management mode. So I'm full. It sounds mental, right?
But not really.
Like, I put it this way, Joe, just those small little bits of techniques are very, very good. A good way of sort of dissipating the immediate panic that you would that they try and induce on you when you go onto fucking news sites like BBC. Do you know what I mean? Everything on there is designed to go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, or do you know that kind of way, or cover something up, right?
Well,
you know, or focus in on something bullshit like.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's always been the motive operandi of the mainstream media for a long time. News has not been news for most of my lifetime, if not all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always had an element of here's what a select bunch of people want you to know about the world, and here's a shitload that they really fucking don't. So they hide that away, or they obfuscate it with half-truths or misdirections. I mean, yeah, we've seen the conglomeratization of local media into a few handfuls of people, and then we see regurgitations of the same bullshit. But yeah, that's kind of got worse with digital media because of the weaponization of algorithms to keep your attention, to make your data more valuable, to make you more susceptible to advertisers. Therefore, the provider of that platform can make more fucking money off your back.
Yeah.
So what keeps you more engaged? Unfortunately, we've known for a long time, and it's part of our biology, that we remember negative experience more than positive, because the positive experiences ain't going to keep you fucking alive when you see a saber-toothed tiger, when you're falling off a fucking cliff, when you fall into ice, when you fall through ice, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you need all of those other moments. They're more prominent within your brain. So we're hardwired for anxiety with one part, then they're weaponizing the fucking system against us. They have less of a clue, if not as much of a fucking clue as we do about what the fuck is going on, yet they present it with such confidence and such professionality that it's so hard to question it. It's so hard to see anything beyond it.
Yeah, I think
so
an awful lot of it's not. I know. It's an interesting one, because obviously, you know, I'm as I've said previously, I'm a musician as well, and I'm trying to obviously grow an audience in that regard too. So I've, you know, the music accounts on the go. I'm thinking about this constantly, blah, 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 you know, that kind of way. So there's an awful lot of opportunity for me to be involved with social media unnecessarily, if that makes sense. Do you know that kind of way? As I've mentioned as well on previous podcasts, that I'm instinctual to a point where I'm not even thinking about the gestures of my hands. You know that kind of way? It's up, right, blah, and I've got the fucking whatever X app open before I even know what the fuck I'm doing. And I'm doing that, like, at any break in consciousness. No, but here's the thing. It's sort of, we were talking about sort of, like, that panic-induced, like, feeling that you get from any sort of media outlet that's, you know, under the category of news or whatever, right? But if you think about it, these algorithms are perpetuated by competing in delivering that information. Because if you think about it, right, we have access to anything. You know, something happens live across the world at this moment in time, boom, straight away I can get it on whatever platform, Twitter. Do you know? You see my point? So if things like national news or whatever don't constantly berate you with this like, you know, this just in, a minor update to the major story that I've just been talking about. Literally nothing. You've added fucking nothing, but you presented it like the fucking world is ending. Do you know that kind of way? So you're retaining that sort of go, oh shit, I need to pay attention to this. Do you know that kind of way? So you see it fucking all the time. And then because again the mist is so dense creatively, for an artist, for a musician, for a podcaster, whatever your creative medium is, if you're not opportunist and reactive enough, you miss out. Somebody's already thought about what you've thought about, and all of that energy is either you get lucky and, you know, it's quite satisfying. You're like, ooh, I got 30 likes for my post today. Or, you know, it's complete and utter fucking failure and you get one like or none. Or, you know, do you know that kind of, which is the story for the most of us, right? That is the case. Now, what I'm saying is, to bring it all back in together, is because I have quite a few projects on, it's compounded. Do you know what I mean? So I have to hit those patterns. I have to really think about those, what I'm doing, because if I don't, my fucking mental health just fucking tanks. And you know what I mean? It'd be all right if I had one account. It'd be okay. I just dismiss it. Do you know that kind of way? But you know, and here's the thing: the reason I'm saying this isn't to go, oh, look at me, I've got loads of pressure on me, I'm doing loads of projects. No, but here's the thing: this is the story of most fucking people. Do you know that kind of way? They're trying 10 fucking things, or they got two. Maybe not even. It may not even be online, but it could be like you working 2 jobs just to pay the fucking bills. It's the same sort of mentality. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, verbal diarrhea over.
Not at all, brother. Not at all. You hit some very interesting points.
Shout out to Percy's. Big up, lads.
Yeah, high and hunger, guys.
It's gonna be all right. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming us to Twitch. And that'll be enough of me interrupting Simpa's thought process. There you go, lad. Yeah,
I was just going to sort of respond back to you with what you were sort of saying there. Definitely, you are not alone. This is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, because it's not a flaw within us. It's not something that is wrong with us. It is a bunch of people, techno wizards that have got together, been given blank checks and the ability to go and do whatever the fuck they want, and create these programs, these algorithms, and these. Hey,
fuck yeah!
Follow on Twitch. Fucking one follow on Twitch. Thank you. It's gonna be all right.
Delighted. Yeah. Fucking delighted. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that.
All right, I'm happy. Right, we're done, folks. See you later. No, right. Sorry, I was saying. Yeah, it's not a flaw within us. It's they've designed this. They've manipulated us. They have used psychiatry. They have used psychology. They've used the study of our biology, of neurology, to literally figure out how to keep us glued to these machines. You know, I was just watching the woman that I brought up before. She talks about the manipulation of us to commit to behaviors and acts that we otherwise wouldn't, and it's through tiny individual little prompts. And it's through what seemingly benign tactics that then completely alter who we are. We see a post and then go, oh, do I want to be friends with that kind of person? Do you know what I mean? So you question the relationships around you. You question your connections, not based on anything that's actually relevant, but based on the metadata and the best guess of an algorithm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that we're all kind of weaponized. That's all weaponized against us. And I'm in this very much the same boat. I've run a lot of different accounts over the years, and I end up with the compounded effect of different algorithms. So then some will be a lot more streamlined into exactly that purpose, but then they start to get tilted. So during the elections, for example, I start to get a lot more oppositional political posts. So then Facebook will try and put more things to get me negatively engaged rather than positively engaged. So I've spent quite a lot of time with the Simpa Life page trying to curate down the timeline that is seen for that to be relevant, effective, and trusted news sources, so that when I share information, the information is valid and is accurate. But even then, a lot of shit gets through. So exactly what you said about having to be guarded and having to be aware is incredibly difficult. Do you know what I mean? To actually have to constantly be in that mindful state of what is this? What is the purpose of it? Why is it here? It's so easy to just boom through a news story and miss the tiny sponsored ad, or to miss whatever it is, the context of what this story really is, or to miss the fact that it's from 5 years ago. You see all the time of stories with a headline that matches somebody's outrage 5 years down the line, gets regurgitated and shared around. I've been a victim of doing that myself, but it's because it's so hard to not give you full attention to this. It's so easy to just kind of go, oh, well, I half agree with that. Boom, without checking the news source, without checking the other material, without understanding what it is that you're putting out there. Because now more than ever, we've always been accountable to our word. But the thing with social media is that you're accountable for everything that you put out. You're an ambassador for your own sort of worldview, for your own philosophy. Do you know what I mean? And you either, as Malcolm X said, you stand for something or you fall for anything. And I think far too many people are willing to fall for anything, and because they'll then curate their own reality through the curation and the removal of content that they don't like, they'll end up with a very narrowed worldview, and that then keeps us all in these isolated things, thinking we're all connecting when we're not. And it's the same thing with when we're using the same words and the same believing we're communicating in the same language, but we're not. The definitions are different. The implication of the terms or the usage is different. So we end up arguing over trivial bullshit when actually we agree on most things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like to call that dilution. Like I don't think it's a coined term, but you've probably heard me say that quite a few times. Is like if you think about it, like Ribena concentrate or my waddy or whatever, that's the issue. Do you know that kind of way? And that fills, so to say, this glass here.
Mhm.
The more fucking nonsense that I put in that's related to the issue, so it's within the glass, right? Say an act like consuming the liquid in that glass becomes fucking tenfold more problematic. You've got an awful lot more to deal with. Do you know that kind of way? Obviously, I'm being very loose and pulling the shit out of my arse. But I think it works. Do you see what I'm saying? If
I can visualize it.
yeah, I mean, if you're say at the bottom of this fucking glass and you're driving, say, the drying process of the liquid that's in there, and then people are up top looking over you, kind of a thing, going, I'm gonna pour some shit over here to fuck you up. Then yeah, everybody within the fucking at the bottom of the glass, I realize I'm not holding it up anymore. Not that this makes any fucking difference whatsoever. But everybody that's at the bottom of the glass trying to sort the fucking drying issue out, getting constantly fucking poured on from above, they start fucking arguing with each other, going, "You're not fucking doing that right. I am fucking doing it right." You can see it happening. You can just fucking see it happening.
Yeah.
It was a really shit analogy, I think. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to
Right, so
I'm actually going to do something that we've never done on this. I'm going to go to the toilet. I'll see you in a second.
Oh, I'm going to be left alone.
Leave you by yourself.
Oh, well, I will tell our listeners if you're not going to stick around and listen. So what Mac has basically loosely just described there is something called the emotional bucket, which is if you imagine that we all have a bucket that's got say it's empty and at birth, and then your trauma, your experiences, and any negative or detrimental events in your life can then start to fill the bucket. So then if you imagine that as say concrete in the bottom that then sets, it reduces the amount of space that you've then got for then normal day-to-day stress. So the more of these compounded events that you have in your life, the less space you will have in your emotional bucket. So therefore, when you get the stress of day-to-day life from your relationships, from your family, from your friendships, this then fills into this. So then the more, I suppose, you expose yourself to these manipulated and negative media, without being mindful of it, the more you fill into your bucket. And most people, without realizing it, are operating with a very full bucket. So it takes very little stress or excess to go into that bucket for it to then expose and spill over. But I mean, sticking with that analogy, one of the important things to remember there is that concrete, that hard shit at the bottom, that's removable. It takes therapy, it takes work, and it takes a hell of a lot of bravery and fortitude to sit with yourself and to understand what that is, why that is, and how it is, and to process the emotion that you've quite often spent a lifetime running from or suppressing through drugs or drugs and alcohol abuse, or through sort of risky behavior, or just flat out avoidance and emotional sort of numbing, and just not living, not casting a light to it. But if you then find that time, you find that fortitude to do so, you reduce the amount of blockage within your emotional buckets. You can take a lot more shit. And then if you do sort of daily exercises, if you engage in your life in a positive way and you find something that is to you blissful, that induces sort of a euphoric sense of connection and of deep enjoyment of your life, that's you actively emptying cupfuls out of your stress bucket. Are you on live now? We're going quantum here.
I am basically live at the moment.
Oh, it's weird hearing Maca when I can't hear him next to his mic. You
Stop
sound like you're in the bottom. You sound like you're in the bottom of a Pringles can.
Fuck's sake.
Are we going to talk live to your phone when you've got me in your ear talking shit?
I'm just trying to get more fucking viewers over, right? This is the very first time I've ever fucking gone live. You've just fucking ruined it. Thanks for that.
I'm sorry. I'd do the same, but I got 7%.
Come to the Simpa Life on YouTube or Facebook or whatever.
Twitch.
Come off this. Twitch. We're on Twitch as well. How do I stop this? Oh my god, I'm not 100.
End. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I genuinely didn't mean to fucking
I don't
to ruin that.
I mean, it's funnier when you kind of do stuff like that, so I'm not.
You leave me hanging enough there, brother.
Sorry about that. What you've been talking about?
I described something I learned in therapy recently, which is the emotional bucket, which was sort of using, say, your analogy of say, your stress, the emotion that you can deal with and process, and how, say, trauma and adverse events in sort of childhood and in your life, things that you're not addressing or dealing with, then say it becomes analogous to concrete in the bottom of the bucket. So therefore you have less space for the liquid of the stress of your day-to-day life. And talking about how finding a routine and rituals and things that you find sort of therapeutic.
Wow. Okay, cool. That is like surprisingly relevant to what we've just been talking about.
Indeed it is.
Oh wow, that's cool. I like it when stuff like that happens.
You know, anyone would think we host a podcast. We're good at conversating.
No. The reason I say that is I genuinely had no like idea. Like myself and Simba, that's the very first time I've heard you verbalize that, and I've never heard of that concept either. But like, how ridiculous was it me talking about people at the bottom of the glass? You know, that kind of way.
No, but you were still trying to, off the cuff, describe the same thing.
Yeah, in terms of relatability, that's what I'm shocked at. I'm sort of blowing smoke up my own arse here.
Well done. We need a graphic somewhere with a little guy with a trumpet.
But yeah, it is quite important to manage these things these days, especially, I think, anyway.
Well, this actually brings us on to a topic I think we've touched on before that I'd like to discuss, because maybe we could have some input from listeners and audience as well, is the co-opting of drug consumption and the therapeutic benefits of currently illegal substances by the medical industrial complex.
Sorry, fucking hell, say that again.
The co-opting of the therapeutic benefits and potential of drugs that are currently illegal by the medical industrial complex. So still like them creating analogs of psilocybin or psilocybe to use in psilocybe psychotherapy.
That sounded like aesthetic wank. That's what that sounded like to me. I was like, there's surely a fucking easier way to say this. Do you mean pharmaceuticalized by any chance?
Well, yeah, basically pharmaceuticalized, but again, that's still not a term. And until we get enough subs to start coining our own terms, and we can get dilution and pharmaceuticalized in the dictionary, we'll have to go with these fucking roundabout sentences.
No, fuck that. I got lost twice when you were saying that sentence. Like, you know,
right, I'll put it in the absolute basic. All right, so then my question is, what are your thoughts on the pharmaceutical industry or the medical industrial complex weaponizing or co-opting, taking from illegal drug culture and communities and First Nation communities and historic communities, drug consumption rituals, methods, etc.
Yeah,
for the benefit of the Western medical paradigm? I don't feel like I made it any simpler.
No, it did. It was still a pain in the arse, to be quite honest. But
that's how my fucking brain works every day. Welcome to my world.
You tell me. At least you're able to fucking verbalize it instead of going all the fucking time. No, it's an interesting question, because obviously the answer is pro and con, because you know you want to see the advancement and benefits, for lack of a better term, optimized, so that their like immediate effectivity is actually beneficial. But that's obviously bringing in a very ideal pharmaceuticalized culture. Does that make sense? Which we don't have. Right, we don't have that. It's capitalist driven. Look at the price of any of this stuff. It's not that. If we had that, then I wouldn't be averse to it. No, not. What is the simple life? Very good question. Very good question. Answer that one.
The simple life is the chronicles of the madness that is my existence. I can't quite quantify my reality. I can't quite deal with the bullshit that I see within the laws and the systems that seek to govern and own my life. So I've decided to publicly chastise that system and attack it through the creation of blogs, podcasts, all sorts of articles and mediums, by public speaking, by attending events, by organizing events, by protesting, by being active in whatever which way I can to inform and create better discussions and debates within the community, man.
And confuse people with very large words. That's what he does.
No, see, I've had this conversation. I've had a
You
couple
have.
of.
I'm
I've
fucking
had a
winding
couple
you
of.
up. Will you chill
No,
the fuck
but no,
out?
but listen, I've had a couple of disagreements right with a few people recently because I use archaic words, and I have no idea where this has come from. But in a lot of my sentences, the terms that I am using are not actually used in modern English. They are from the turn of the 19th and 20th century. And again, I don't know where I've got a lot of these.
Probably from digesting countless textbooks that are written about that time, you know, or haven't been fucking culled.
But the thing is that the words are so specific and precise. The reason that I'll try to use it, or I'll always want to use the words that best describe it, is because it best describes it. Do you know what I mean? It's a self-reinforcing statement. I get that, but ultimately the point is that if I know a word that describes it best, I don't want to dilute my sentence to that point. Unfortunately, yes, it can be a turn-off to some listeners and to some readers of my work. But what I try to do is produce an output of, say, a blog now for the simplelife.com. Shout out to simplelife.com. Seamless plug.
Need to figure out a way of putting this up.
I'm sure you'll figure it out on there. I'll type away back there. But yeah, so what I'm trying to do there is put a concise narrative out. Here's a story. Then from there, try and do a live, and then create podcasts as well, discussing that similar topic, so that it's the same information but conveyed in several different ways. And this is one of the things I'm enjoying about the podcast, is someone like yourself having to force me to really control and titrate the amount of alliteration that I use, because if I'm left to my own devices, I often become quite lyrical, as people will attest to.
Yeah, but
watch me do.
Here's the thing: you shouldn't invest that sort of faith in me. The reason is, I quite like it. I quite like hearing the semi-archaic wording, because I go, ooh, that's a word I haven't heard, or you know, I don't know what that means, so I go and look it up. You know, that kind of way. I quite like it. And if that's the way you talk naturally, that's the way you talk naturally, right? That's don't fucking think of that as a negative in your sort of persona. However, here's something that I've learned through work, and I subscribe to this. A very very intelligent man that I used to work with once said to me, when dealing with somebody else that's outside of your field, and there's a frustration or a build up, or you know, people are pushing back or whatever, or they don't get it, right? It's very easy for us to kind of go, well, oh, they just don't understand, they don't get it, or whatever. I'm talking about it in discourse now, in immediate discourse.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, he put it a different way. He said that, well, the best way to actually look at it, and the least amount of hassle, is caused when you kind of go, well, take a second here and go, can I rephrase this? Can I do something different to actually make sure that this is understood properly and I'm coming across without any sort of snidiness or emotional attachment or whatever, that it becomes just a different approach. It's sort of like the solution to the definition of insanity, which is, you know, repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results, which is our default mode, it seems to be. Do you know that kind of way? So, you know that kind of way? If I'm teaching you something like on the computer or whatever, no, press that button. No, which button? That button. Just press the fucking button. Just fucking press it. Do you see what happens? Do you know that kind of way? Instead of me going, see that corner over there where there's a light over that thing. Oh, you see the light? Yeah, it's just down one from the light. Just press that button. You see the thing? I mean, and when he phrased that, I kind of went, yeah, do you know what? That's fucking spot on. Do you know? Because in the end of the day, I don't want to be arguing with anybody. Just before you jump in, Piano. Is that your first name? Piano. Fucking cool if it is. If you're still watching us, I'm sorry that your video stutters, that the connection is so stuttery, I guess. I'm not sure why it's set at 60 FPS. I guess it might have to be some optimum thing, but we will figure it out if going forward. And I hope that, you know, before we get too sidetracked, if you are still watching, that Simpa's explanation actually, you know, explains something of what we were about. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, basically the Simple Life is it's a kind of a play on words of obviously the Simple Life, which was made up by one of our viewers right now on YouTube, Chris Aztec, one of my good friends.
Big up, Chris.
Came up with it in his
Big
kitchen
up,
over
Little
a coffee.
Green.
Big up everybody. We did have 2 Twitches. I was gonna shout out to Twitch, give us a second follow, get us to
That was probably that piano guy which we lost.
That's a shame. It's probably something to do with Twitch settings, so that is something we can check out.
if
But
it
we
was a
literally
guy.
have only had a Twitch account for an hour. What was your previous point? I need to trigger that my train of thought again.
Dun, 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 dun. Reversal mode.
Language.
No, that was ages ago. Implicative language.
Oh.
No, that was fucking ages ago, man. Help us out here, listeners. Come on. There's fucking.
I'm
there's
sure- I'm
18
sure-
of you. You must be able to actually remember what the fuck I was talking about.
No, I'm sure it was about the language that sort of I use and about.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So what I typically, the point that you raised there is something that it took me a while to realize, and it's something that I try and do, but I can only really do in person because it's sort of a skill that I've managed to acquire, and I'm training myself more. Is say when we've got a podcast guest on, I will talk as me. I will allow my thoughts to flow through me and go, boom, here's this. But then I can gauge off their reaction, off their face, off their responses to me, if they're understanding what I'm saying. And then I'm able to alter the way that I'm saying it and adjust it to a point that they can understand it. I mean, is it was it an Einstein quote that if you can't explain something to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it? And I'm not saying that people are 6-year-olds, but I'm saying that,
Yeah, no, he's right.
for example, I met a Sun journalist last year, the year before. God, fucking hell. We lost last year, so it's changed all my math in my head. So I think 2 years ago, I met a Sun journalist, and she was telling us that they're not allowed to submit any work that has a readership, anything over the readership age of 10. So the national level for a 10-year-old reading, that's what they have to submit their articles at, which is bonkers when you think about it. So yeah, when I look at some of the way that I write and you see the size of some of the terms that I'm using, but the reason that I'm using that is to avoid any misunderstanding or misinterpretation. So especially in my written work, I will always try and make it very narrow. Do you know what I mean? So that the person reading it will read it as I've written it. Whereas if you use quite ambiguous or loose terms, or if I'm very general with what I'm speaking, with what I'm writing, the reader will then put more of their interpretation on it. So this is why I've started hyphenating a lot of words, and I've started to italize, like turn into italic, some terms as well, as a way of kind of showing almost a dislike of the terms, almost like a disgust for them, but using them in actual terms. So medical cannabis, for example.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas if I would then keep talking around the language that way, it continues to dilute the argument. Whereas if I talk about the therapeutic benefits and properties of cannabis, it's a larger sentence and it's more compounded, but it allows me to say exactly what I'm saying and not say the opposite thing, which is what too often happens. And I know even that explanation can sound almost confusing, but that's how weird language is. You've got to remember that the vast majority of our politicians go through Eton. Eton is the only school in the land that still teaches rhetoric, which is the art of manipulation of language. So sentence structure and verbiage and cadence in the way you speak, in the way you articulate and noise, gesture, all of that is taught within that. So we're manipulated by that, and we often then don't hear the words. So it's one thing that I try to do. I know I often do get quite gestural, and I do get quite impassioned, and will end up using sort of like the triple barrel tricks of using one term, another term, and another term. Do you know what I mean? There are certain ways that you can phrase things that will make it more engaging. But as I do that, I try to then be very specific with what I'm saying. If I'm going to choose to sit on a podcast and gain people's attention for X amount of hours or a specific amount of time, I think that it's important to really be honest with what I'm saying. And the best way I can be honest is to use the exact term of it. So if somebody comes at me going, oh, this, and this, what I've said is solid. Do you know what I mean? It's their interpretation. And then that's where I then find that, okay, I can engage with you and explain it better in one-to-one. But if I tried to go for like a broad spectrum, lowest common denominator, I feel that I would miss a lot of the audience that really, I was going to say gets me. That's not what I mean, but like really engages with me most.
Well, It depends, man. It depends, because you can go all day with that. You can go all the way down to ensuring that every word is selected so that the context is 100% sound, and then you get to a point where somebody could read it and still not fucking get it and still take it up the wrong way. That's not on you. That is not on you. That is on their unique interpretation. You know what I mean? You're never going to be able to fucking control that, not fully. So, I mean, it's chasing. While I agree with the methodology, of course, it's important to do that. It's important to not be obsessed with that either. So if you can say something, if you can combine the two, in actual fact, I think that's probably the best effective model, because not only do you not scare people away, naturally, because, you know, I used to be like that. I used to go pick up a book or whatever, go, oh, I should read this, you know, be lost in a paragraph, you know, because I've missed 7 words or whatever, and I haven't a fucking clue what they're talking about, and I feel semi emasculated at that point, to a point, you know, you're subliminally so a point where I'll just go, oh, fuck this, I'm gonna go and do something else. And, you know, I had to make that sort of conscious decision to actually go, hold on a sec, slow the fuck down. Whoa. Who has told you that you need to fucking, you know, fully process every morsel of that in immediacy? You know, that kind of way? Because that's where that sort of like, that sort of negative feeling comes from. Do you know that kind of way? Because you're kind of going, oh, I'm stupid then.
It's school. It's school. It's that school thinking. And so it's in there. We lose our curiosity. We lose our interest in reading and finding new things. So I was the same for many fucking years. It wasn't until, that I really started again with the LSD and doing sort of my own sort of created therapies, as it were, like going out and camping for a few days, you know, fasting, taking entheogenic compounds, and really trying to face my trauma and understand myself, that I then got this curiosity again. So then when I started picking up books, like, this is actually probably where I picked up quite a lot of my archaic language, when I started reading things like Aldous Huxley. It was literally, it would take me fucking an hour to read 4 pages, because exactly that, I'm having to Google 17 times, what does this word mean? What is this? But then when I learn it, my brain then goes, oh, and it's like a power thing, and you're like, ooh, I know something new, yeah. And then it's literally for like 18 months after, just waiting for somebody to say something. Like, I know the term here for this. Yeah, I can't help it, and that's just, maybe that's quite an egoic pursuit in some ways. But it's a betterment of myself. It's a pursuit of something. It's something that I can go, and especially it's incredibly important to me as an adult that was a child that was rather abused and neglected and cast around the system, is to be listened to and to be able to articulate in a way that my words have meaning, that I can stand in front of somebody, say I am feeling, or I am experiencing, or I have witnessed, or whatever, the world in this way, and convey that to another human being through the filter of myself. And to me, that is one of the most important things of being who I am as a person, is to have that ability. So if I can have that broad spectrum approach of being able to speak in, I suppose, academic senses and use exact correct nomenclature all the time for everything, and that it shows me up here. But what I'm developing now is the spectrum. Yes. So what I'm trying to do is with my writing, is to stick more up this end, because I feel that's more of the audience that are most receptive to it. Whereas then when I do the lives, the podcasts, when I speak to people at events, fingers crossed when they come back, touch wood, again, I titrate my terminology, my usage of words, my vocabulary, down to a point where within a few sentences, you can understand by the words that other people use how they generally speak. And obviously, I'm not looking to be so professional, as it were, or trying to present a certain way when I'm just communicating with a person one-on-one, which I feel is often as well one of the ways that can be most impactful. I mean, I've stood on stage, I've spoken in front of hundreds, if not 1,000 plus people in some places. I've traveled all over the place. I've written articles for magazines, God knows how many blogs and whatever else. But I still feel the most meaningful impact that I can have is the one-on-one connections with people, especially the people that seek me out, that somehow we collide at an event, that like, oh, I followed your work for ages, etc. And
what, like me?
Yeah, exactly. And they can have a meaningful connection.
I stalked Simpa for weeks. I didn't.
That then leads to like a podcast or something else. But you know what I mean? It allows you to be open to that and curious to it. And I think what you were saying before about feeling sort of emasculated or whatever else is again, something that's trained into us, and it's
Yeah, it
perpetuated
is.
by the algorithms on
Yeah.
social media. And it's interesting because I mean, Instagram are looking at removing likes, like removing the number of likes being
Yeah, well,
displayed.
they should. They should.
Yeah, and then in doing that, it removes that comparison,
Yeah.
and I think that then allows you to be more expressive as you. So yeah, you'll still have your followers, etc., but you wouldn't then deem yourself a failure if you only got one like or a success for 30. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't have that mechanism in your head. It's interesting. Like I gave up this game a long time ago. I got obsessed at one point. Me and one of my friends, before I started all of this stuff, we almost became quite competitive over Instagram, and we would find out ways to manipulate the algorithm or whatever else, just to be like, I got 400 likes on this picture of a tree. You know what I mean? Just it was just one of those weird competitive things that you kind of do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that kind of, I played that game and it didn't seem gratifying. It was taking up more of my time. Whereas now I feel that I can use social media to be more genuine and output what I want to output and take in from it what I want to input into my consciousness. I'm titrating my usage of this a hell of a lot more than I ever have before. Before I was just like absorbed by all of this, taking everything in and trying to discern.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can dedicate basically office hours, 9 to 5 most days during the week, to just deliberately working in this, putting myself in that mindset of being mindful of what I'm absorbing, not letting it affect me emotionally, but it then still use my emotions to empower me through this, to keep me impassioned and motivated to do what I do. I think that's an incredibly hard thing to learn, and even harder to maintain, because I don't do it all the time. I get it from time to time, but
well, there's the thing. I mean, we're not a defined static point, are we? We're waves. We're waves. We're vibrational waves. Like, no, honestly, this sounds trippy as fuck, but obviously that is what we are. You know, that kind of way. So, we're a creature that moves in, is it erroneous grooves? I think that's Alan Watts. I might have made a bollocks of that, but I quite like that. The way, and he had what was his analogy that it was always his go-to thing, which was prickly and something else. And I never fully got what he was talking about with that, but it basically, but do you know what I'm talking about? You haven't.
It's been a while since I've listened to Watts.
Oh god, I'll have to look this up and bring it back. But yeah, I mean, we are waves, so to expect the same thing internally over and over and over and over again, like a straight line. And you know, we need to get back to this straight line and balance out. No, balance out is leaving the fucking the entirety of the wave propagate. Do you know that kind of way? Not cutting it up into little bits and then fucking shoving it down. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
Full of all the bullshit analogies today. Everyone's gone quiet.
That's because
I think we've put everybody to sleep, to be honest. Big up, John.
Well, yeah, I mean, so you've got, I suppose, the issue in the cosmos, I suppose, and everything on the larger scale down to the minute scale is inertia versus sort of atrophy.
No, I'm going to reel you in here because we've gotten very wishy-washy in this. Explain.
So inertia is the tendency for things to remain the same, and atrophy is the tendency for things to break down. So, say like the soap bubble is round because it's the most energy efficient way of its use, but so that's the inertia in it. But the atrophy of it is then the bubble is in that round, smooth, nice nature exposed to the jagged reality. Do you know what I mean? So that there is an inbuilt sort of yin and yang balance of energy and nature of life, that things want to exist and remain, but then inertia breaks them down. So things keep flowing and breaking and flowing and breaking because of this balance. And this is the ebb and flow and the waveform that Einstein said, I suppose, makes up reality. If you think of time as a dimension, space-time, as he sort of termed it, we fluctuate within that. I mean, the Jadists who predated the Buddhists were talking about that all this vibration, that everything is made up. And we're now getting to that point within modern physics to understand that, yeah, in a lot of ways that is true. There's a lot of pseudoscience and wishy-washy sort of philosophy rather than science kicking around these topics, but we're still starting to get to an understanding of more of a much more quantum reality. Everything is far more entangled and deeply connected.
Yeah, it is. But one thing I will say about that is, and I used to hear Terence McKenna denounce an awful lot of science as well. Just to sort of bring him up, like it's important that both exist, because for science to be so fucking confident in itself, given that historically, I don't know if you watch the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Was it? Fucking hell, fuck that up. It's Always Sunny. And he's like, science is wrong sometimes. Do you know, like, it's fucking brilliant. But it's true. You do need that. You do need that. You know, some sort of delving into the unknowns as well, or the could be's as well. We can't be so definitive, because it's fucking boring, man. Do you know that kind of way?
Another Einstein quote, just to get my fucking head there. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. And so it is this idea, look, all of what we now know of anything that we consider to be true fact, consensus science, and the basis for our reality, if you look, gravity, any of these things, at some point were just mysterious things lost out there in the ether. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the what you're saying about the certainty of science being so certain in itself, it almost becomes a religion.
Yes, it does.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, why do you believe in that?
Not
science?
Scientology.
I mean, but it's still the idea of that somebody somewhere knows their shit. They've figured it out, so I don't have to.
This is just it. Yeah, I mean, fucking hell. I can't remember who we were talking about. Oh no, I had this argument today. In actual fact, not in the exact same way, but it was funny enough. It was about this lady on my shirt here. So it's International Women's Day, and BBC 6, I think, put up a post showing Amy Winehouse and going like celebrated as one of the greatest female musicians of all time, and I wholeheartedly agree. But I was in there early. I saw it go up, and you know when you see it and it's like 30 seconds, you know, it's like instantly posted. You kind of go, I have something to say here. If I get in here early enough, I might, I might get some bonus likes or whatever. It's grand. This is the subliminal thought processes that still go through my head. So I know, right? Anyway, I put it up, and all I said was, she was destroyed by our media, right? And the resistance I got to that statement was unbelievable, right? If any of you are new to the show, we've done quite a few podcasts about addiction, recovery, this kind of stuff, that kind of way, and it was all relevant, obviously, because of the way that she died, and people were arguing that the stigmatization of her by the media wasn't the problem. The problem was her not irreversible, like non-interchangeable human behavior by default. This was the arguments that I was set to. Honest to God, I knew it wasn't even like fully articulate. I knew that the person on the other side wasn't going to fucking listen to me, that it was a very hard-nosed and half-assed, thought-out opinion. But it's like, that's the default mentality that we have. Do you know what I mean? That certain things are proven in a book, so that is the truth. That is the reality of this. And I'm not talking about some sort of pseudoscience-esque, like, intentionally fucking skewed concept here. I'm not talking about that. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't a fucking clue what I'm talking about. He hasn't a fucking clue.
Mate, of course I do.
No, you fucking don't.
I do. Right, so
I'm only joking. I'm winding you up. Tried to throw you under the bus there. Didn't work.
No, it's all good. I did zone out for a little second because I tried to join us onto Twitch there, but what happened is I heard us from 5 seconds ago talking on top of you. So we got a little bit confused, and hence the wide-eyed look there for a moment. No, but one point you did pick up there on, which I think is something that needs highlighting, is exactly that. Is it was the media that destroyed Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
In the same way, there's Johan Hari's just had basically film version made of Chasing the Scream about Billie Holiday, whose life was entirely destroyed by Harry J. Anslinger during the start, I suppose, in the main uptake of Prohibition in America in the 20th century. So, and we've got time and time again, look at what's happening to the Royals now. Rather than focus on a known paedophile, a guy that should be in prison, a guy that should be standing trial for it, they're going after Diana's kids for whatever bullshit they want to bring up on whatever random day. And it works as a good distraction because, as you said before, breaking news about some minor bullshit you don't care about, but we're going to saturate you with it on every platform so that no other subject can fill it. We don't want to talk about Brexit. We don't want to talk about food banks. We don't want to talk about fucking fuel crisis. We don't want to talk about environmental issues. We don't want to talk about drugs. We don't want to talk about anything of any actual meaning. But Lady Gaga lost a dog, so let's chat some shit. It's like
somebody got shot.
It's like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. It's like somebody, I remember actually seeing that and fucking just brushing over it, going immediately in my head, going, oh, it sucks that some person has been shot in that situation. But there was no fucking way I was clicking that shit. It's like, I
didn't even know someone was shot. All I saw was that it was a fucking thing. And it just, but again, for me, it's not really news. Like, news to me should be the common denominator. What is relevant to all? So politics is going to always be fucking within that. Environmental issues always going to be within that. Geopolitical fucking and geographical issues around, say, like volcanoes or shit or earthquakes or certain things that are relevant, and some things just really fucking aren't. We do not need to know of a random thing over here that works just because it's a nice scare story that can put a good spin on it. I mean, if you look at the bath salt story that got blown so fucking out of proportion that it ended up as like a zombie tale by the time it hit the press. And it was perpetuated on every fucking continent that has press.
Yeah, I remember John McAfee being pulled into that insanity, although I'm pretty sure he's off the rails as well. You know, kind of way.
He's a very interesting fucking character.
So very interesting because I think he ended up. I'm gonna fuck this up. But I remember because he was on Rogan, wasn't he? Do you remember that episode? They called him in and he had to go through like 5 VPNs and shit because he was on the run in Thailand or some shit. And no, he'd married some a young lady, very young lady, and basically was going around on the run cooking up bath salts. That's what he was doing. He was just, man, I'm not even. This sounds like I need a fucking tinfoil hat, but I swear. Well, I swear that I think that doesn't make sense.
Perfect caveat.
Yeah, right. No, that I could have sworn that I have seen an episode or at least heard an episode with John McAfee on fucking Joe Rogan, and it was basically that. It was fucking mental. But you know, very interesting sidebar here is like, wasn't there a theory going around that a shitload of the viruses excuse me, were actually invented by security software engineers to ensure that their software was taken up en masse?
Well, yeah, that has very much been a thing for a while, and it is something that a lot of the computer people that I know will actually say that you're kind of safe without antivirus software. If you put antivirus software, you're basically saying to shit that's out there, I've got something that you want. So you're advertising that. Whereas if you keep it raw and ready and real,
nobody's interested in your shit.
Yeah, in that sort of sense, you're hiding in kind of in plain sight. But it is interesting because I'm thinking of what the fuck I watched a documentary on it, but it was fucking years ago on a come down of all things, and it was on a grainy video on YouTube. But it was a documentary about a program that I can't remember the name of, that the Americans released, and it was basically they designed it to go on get loose on the internet, and they're given a no kill date. And what it was designed to do was just invade software everywhere it touched to try to get into an Iranian nuclear bunker. And it was looking for specs for a very specific component within this. Once it found it, it could then kill them. So basically, the Americans decided the best way we could get this virus into that is to release it fucking everywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
and so then you've got programs like that then coming out of governments that are then released. You've then got obviously what we all know from Edward Snowden, that was revealed with everything the GCHQ and the NSA are doing, as well as various other fucking organizations and institutions around the world. You know, our data is so, we're so observed, we're so into it. I mean, look now, there's 4 listening devices in this room right now connected. They're just constantly, and I'm one that's I'm cautious of this shit, but there's certain things you can't live without. You know what I mean? I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
We work with like standalone mics, so when I unplug the mic and the camera, they're dumb and they're dead.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I've got tapes over sort of laptops and things like that, but your phone, there's fuck all you can do with your phone. And we've known for the past fuck knows how many years that they have the ability to live turn on a camera and a mic. They need very little fucking battery.
Yeah. They have that ability at one point at certain firmwares, which end up getting patched up, and that loop gets closed. But then it's a case of who's closing the loop and are leaving anything else.
Well, no, because at the larger level, the way that it works is that everything that comes through an international online traffic line becomes subject to NSA review. So the reason that like everyone else, like Google and all these big boys, have their servers, they move them around through international borders. Your information, even if you're accessing something that is in a server within your fucking region, that goes via an international border, because then it allows through the terrorism acts of 2000 and 2001 in America and the UK, or the Patriot Act in America rather, for them to get access to all of that shit, not just metadata, but actualized data. They can real time get fucking everything. And it's all of this then goes in through various algorithmic systems for them to correlate and be able to fucking work out how a population is going to react to something.
Yeah.
Look at Facebook's reaction buttons now. You really think that's for our benefit? So I can be like, look, I'm pissed off at your post. Angry face. No, we've just been given 6 new ways for them to go, we've found out that when we released this story, this many people disliked it, this many people really disliked it. It's a further subjugation. It's a further way to break us down into categories to be able to then work shit out. And again, it's not about now, and it's not about previous data. We're getting to the point of them being able to create such sophisticated AI machines that they'll be able to predict whole population reactions to events. Do you know what I mean? If they can then determine how we'd react to something, they can then run through scenarios through these machines to then go, well, what happens if we did X, Y, Z? That would result to this, X, Y, to this, to this. Once we start to get to that kind of fucking level, which we're verging on if we're not already there.
Yeah, we're already there.
Then fuck. I mean, look at China and its citizenship score. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at COVID passports and everything that's coming in now. You're looking at what's happening with venues.
Honestly, I can fucking see it. I can see it happening. And I joked on a previous podcast, but it's gonna be fucking specs that you wear over. You're walking down this fucking street. Here's Simpa. Oh, he's got a fucking Trustpilot rating. 2.5.
Dude,
he's a cunt. Do you know that
it'll
kind of way?
Fucking it'll be retinas, man.
Yeah, in immediacy. I'm talking about. Here's the thing: those wearable technology is on our doorstep, not like in nanotechnology or anything embedded, but actually reflective glasses.
It's mass producible, and it would create it would create augmented reality. So it'd be like for anybody sort of listening, if you've seen Minority Report, for example, where he walks down the street and the advert picks up his retina in his eye and then creates a holographic image.
I mean, you have that on your phone now.
Yeah,
you have it now, right there, like without even setting anything up. It's embedded in your phone.
You put it onto exactly. So and you think of how far we're getting with VR technology. So then it's a further obfuscation of reality. So the more we're spending within this digital realm or this augmented realm, the less we're going to see. So if you have your setting going to no homeless people, you're walking down the street with your glasses on, and it detects them and it blocks them out. You then set it to no blacks, and it blocks out black people. Do you know what I mean? So then it allows you to get further into your limited worldview. I think we need to open our eyes further, not shut them harder. Do you know what I mean? We need to open our ears more. We need to hear more and experience more, but we're bombarded with shit. So most people walk down the street. I'm going to put my headphones on because the majority of us now have social anxiety. Again, not our fault, not a failure of the human being, a direct consequence of these systems. You were talking before about competition between apps.
Yeah.
There is no fucking competition between apps. Watch The Social Dilemma. Watch how they talk about the fucking revolving doors between CEO and technology departments. They work in tandem. There's a reason you'll sit on your phone with your muscle memory of your hand and go, oh, I've done Instagram, boom, Facebook, boom, I'll go in Twitter, boom, it's all of this is part of it. We're a victim to this, but that's not to say we should remain a victim or identify as victims. They are assaulting us with this. They have weaponized our lives against us. They've made us so dependent upon this technology that its removal seems like a worse consequence to us than living in an actual prison. Do you know what I mean? They know everything. Google knows fucking everything, and they sell to third parties, to third parties, to third parties. You know, governments and corporations have never been fucking closer.
Yeah,
we are one major global event, and we are fucking have just had one that could have been it. But we are one major event from the majority population going, fuck it, chippers or whatever. Put some binary code, something that means you know where the fuck I am, so you can keep me safe. You can tell me, oh, my heart rate's elevated, so I won't eat salt, and we'll end up in a fucking Demolition Man style fucking future where anything that's bad for you, deemed bad, is illegal.
See, here's the thing. I want that technology, but I don't want any of the fucking shite that goes with it. Do you know that kind of way? I want no fucking attachment to it. Sorry.
It's what you said about the pharmacy industry though before.
Yeah, we don't have
with the idealized version. So again, if this technology and these concepts, the people that are pushing them, the a victim unto themselves. They are suffering from the human condition, which is something we've talked about a lot, which is they're blinkered to their reality. If I was raised you, had your experiences, lived your life, I'd be sat there thinking as you, living as you. So because of their limitations of their experience, they think they're doing good. Remember, some of the worst things imaginable in human history have been done with good intent. People have thought that they were doing the right thing. They've invented something thinking it's going to be brilliant. That's then caused umpteen amount of fucking disaster and pain. And I think that's kind of where we're
Oppenheimer is the perfect example of that, right?
Yeah.
What was the thing he said? He quoted Shiva, I think. Shiva, the
destroyer of worlds.
Destroyer of worlds. And he said that in frustration after he realized what he had created. So his intent was not to blow people the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine that? I mean, you go and invent something groundbreaking like that has such a large detrimental effect when it's weaponized, only to be fucking fooled into it. I'm surprised he didn't die of fucking disappointment and heartbreak, to be quite honest. Jesus Christ above, like.
I imagine that quite a lot of the people involved in the Manhattan Project, minus those individuals that came, or even including some of those individuals that came from Operation Paperclip. Again, this is not to be a defense of anybody that's done anything fucking abhorrent or absolutely disgusting in human history, but most people believe they are the protagonist of their own narrative. They think they are the good guy. So when they're like, so all the racist bigots, the Gammonites, if you want to call it such a big thing in the UK, they're like fucking darkies and muzzies coming up. They genuinely believe that everything they see that's going wrong is their fault. It's not Boris and all their fucking mates. It's the other. It's they're listening to the narrative. They're drinking the fucking Kool-Aid and they're hating who they're told to hate.
Yeah, I made a joke about this on Twitter the other day. I put up a thing going, I see people legitimately walking around like they're Goku or Vegeta in their story. Mate, you're not even Hercule. You'd be lucky to be fucking that small little fella. What's his name? Chow Tzu or whatever. Fuck you. Do you know what I mean? Like, most of you walking around there are fucking Mr. Satan. Kind of a thing. That's a Dragon Ball Z reference, just in case anybody else hasn't a fucking clue what I'm talking about.
But that's all part of the falsehood of the alpha male paradigm, you know, which was sort of created off the back of a very maladapted and very poorly performed study on wolves, where they thought that there was alphas and betas within the packs, when actually what they discovered after the fact was they were just witnessing juveniles. So they'd completely miscategorized it, created this idea of it, which was then popularized alongside various things such as Huxley's grandfather's version of, say, Darwinism. You know, I can't remember what the hell they called it. It was like a pseudo-Christian Darwinism sort of thing, really fucking weird.
Grand Darwinism.
But bollocks, I just lost my point.
It's all right, we've got it. He was only talking shite anyway.
It's in there. I just want to put 2 seconds. I just want to shout out to whoever is our second viewer on Twitch right now. If you wouldn't be so kind, please do go and give us a subscribe or a follow. They're brand new to the platform. We've been on the platform a whole of like 4 hours this evening, and we are 10% of our way to our goal.
Yes, we are. And well, we've got a question actually. Can you see that, or do I need to read it out to you?
Which platform?
YouTube.
I've got that many screens open. Hold up. Might be a little off topic, but what do you think of dry herb vapes? Vibes is good. Vapes, sorry. um, I think the technology is still quite in its infancy at the minute. There are some interesting issues around vaporization of cannabis in terms of combustion occurs at such a temperature that it will burn away any contaminants, molds, a lot of residuals of pesticides and things like that. Whereas then dry herb will cause volatilization because of the slow increase of the temperature. It will help volatilize any of the chemicals or any of the residual compounds on the plant. It is pretty good in terms of being able to target certain cannabinoids. So if you then know the rate at which the cannabinoids break down, you can then vape a herb, say get the CBG off it at a lower rate, and then work you up to THC at a higher rate, about 155, I think it is. But yeah, the technology is slowly getting better. It's still quite bulky and heavy. So to me, it's I've been combusting, I suppose, on and off since I was about 9 years old when I started full time smoking fucking cigarettes. But I've managed to kick backy over the years, get back on it, kick backy, and working my way sort of through it. But I enjoy the ritual of rolling too much. I enjoy.
It's not just that though, is it? It's not just that. I mean, you said something like before you were addicted to combustion when you were going through trying to kick the tobacco again. That's what you realize, and there's some truth in that. But I don't know. It's just not the same. It's not the same. Like
it's not the same high as well.
Yeah,
like
it creeps
combustion
up.
gets everything. So you get the terpenes, the cannabinoid, and it just goes boof.
Yeah, but there must be some sort of level of asphyxiation that is attributable to that too as well.
Oh, with this is the argument that people used to make when sort of you were involved in younger or just naive days of being sort of a green cannabis consumer, is that if you hold, you smoke longer, you get higher, and it's not. You're denying oxygen to your brain.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, I suppose there is something to, and then the action of it. I mean, if you look at people that use breath techniques through meditation or for other sort of transcendental purposes or whatever, the action of that has a real profound physiological effect, like psychological and neurological effect on the brain. So yeah, then perhaps the art of the deep inhalation and the feeling of the filling of the lungs, rather than the vapor, often can feel quite hollow.
Yeah, it can do, but it's sort of a bite that you get as well with combustion that sort of guides you.
It's the heaviness, and then you kind of draw, and then you give it that, you pull it into the lungs.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for me. I miss is the
however,
and then pull it in and out again.
However, I mean, I'll make a bollocks of loads of things if you're not familiar with that right now. So I'm just gonna pull some random numbers out of my arse, and I don't want you to take them verbatim, but it's around about, I think, 17% of the THC that is, or whatever the terpenes or cannabinoids are actually get. I'm going to start it again. 17% get taken into your body if you're smoking, but if it's upwards of 70 to 80% or something along those lines of what you get out of a bag, say, for instance, have I got those fucking numbers right, do you think? Ish.
I know that the idea is right. I don't know if the number's right. But yeah, there is I think a higher saturation rate, especially if you we know this if you then mix oils, for example. So if you then vape cannabinoids in a carrier oil, we know that because of the composition of the oil, it passes the lungs quicker to get into the blood, and it carries faster past the blood-brain barrier. So you get a higher effect. But then obviously they're quite often isolated products, so you only then get the one effect of that one cannabinoid. Whereas again, sort of the combustion of the plant, you'll get sort of more of. But then at a vape at a reasonable temperature, I'm still here. At a vape at a reasonable temperature, you will you'll get that effect. So I suppose quite a lot of it is probably psychosomatic. It is then being somebody that's as a combustor.
It is.
Then because I did for a while. The first time I really quit biking for a couple of years. I noticed the difference. The weed high was different when I used my volcano. When I used my volcano, it's a different kind of high. But unfortunately, again, maybe it is psychosomatic, but I end up feeling like I'm wanting something else.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to be very flippant here. Maybe it's because it feels too clean. And because we're stigmatized so much in terms of, do you know, when I think about it, right? That it removes that. It removes that sort of, ooh, this is a bit edgy. This is a bit off the cuff here. Whereas if you have, you know, the entirety of a bag at the correct temperatures, it's almost like inhaling fucking air, flavored air. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, this feels healthy. I don't feel like I need to sit the fuck down. I can actually go and fucking do stuff. Do you know that kind of way? And you can get blitzkrieged that way. You can. Do you know that kind of way? But in the end of the day, I think it's going to be a balance for me, and I just need to be a bit more fucking disciplined about it because it is better for you. So
yeah, if we think about it though, so then combustion is going to be at higher temperatures, so it's going to cause forced carboxylation and oxidation of cannabinoids. So therefore, the dry plant, even if it's dry, is still going to have a residual amount of THCA. So it's going to convert the THCA through carboxylation to THC. It's then going to cause a further oxidization and decarboxylation to the THC to make that CBN. So then when you're combusting a spliff, you're taking the THC that's already converted through drying in the plant to CBN and the THCA to THC.
Mm.
So in the act of combustion, yeah, you are converting the cannabinoids into different cannabinoids. So therefore, theoretically, I guess, through combustion, you will be getting more CBN of a sedatory cannabinoid. So you'll be getting more of a heavier impact. As in you get that, you know, the stony forehead, your heavy eyebrow sort of feeling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's CBN sort of headache. Not headache, but like heady sort of high of just like a woof, and then it usually is accommodated by couch lock or some sort of just like a no, can't be arsed.
Yeah, fucking. There's a time and a place for a heavy indica though, like that, man, where you just go, oof, I'm chill now. I'm fucking chill.
Time and a place for everything. Too many people shit on Satimas and indicas. I hate the terminology, but we haven't got the new words for it yet. It's quite antiquated way of describing it, but for ease of convenience and conversation, exactly. But I need to caveat it because it's when a few years when the world's caught up with it, we're going to be looking at this going, how fucking stupid are we? Point being, anyway, that then what we traditionally call sativas or associated sativas get a bad rap because people say they can't handle them, it makes them anxious or whatever else.
Yeah.
The combination of the terpenes and cannabinoids to make the profile for it are again useful for a time and a place. I love a good lemon in the morning. Something that'll pick me up. I wouldn't want to smoke the fucker at 11 o'clock at night when I was going to bed. So it's the same sort of thing. You know, it's a much more varied spectrum than say alcohol or anything else. The cultivars themselves, because of the unique combinations of the cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes, etc., means that they're so unique, and then it's your individual makeup, your deficits within your endocannabinoid system, your mood, everything else plays so much into it. It's far more of a quantum reaction, I suppose, in that sense than it is just input, source, output. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work. This is why they're struggling to standardize it with pharmaceutical double and triple blind studies. It doesn't fit into the modern pharmaceutical model. Cannabis, because of her nature, because of its very makeup, there isn't a box for her. They've built this world in all these nice little configurations, and they prohibit cannabis and drugs, and then they're kind of going, oh shit. And they're trying to fit it back in, and they go, actually, cut this bit off, that's a medical thing. Cut this off, that's an industrial thing. Put this in, and it's not going to work. Cannabis is a weed. You plant her anywhere, she's going to overgrow and smash the sides of those boxes. This beautiful Garden of Eden of ours that they've fucking concreted over, and they've divided up with all these walls and all these random borders and flags and bullshit nationalism. This planet is going to tear that apart. That might sound fucking socialist. It might sound a bit hyperbole.
Good.
Fucking crazy, but it's fucking true.
Good.
Weed will win. It will overgrow the governments. It will overgrow the nations. It will overgrow the fucking world.
Be here longer than we fucking will be. I'll tell you that.
It takes us away from disaster capitalism, from neoliberalistic capitalism, from surveillance capitalism, from any of the new worlds they're trying to build for us. It gives us the opportunity to live beyond that because it is the ultimate resource. It gives us power. It gives us clothes. It gives us foods. It gives us an opportunity to renutrify our soils, to capture the carbon from our air, to clean our waterways, to generate power, to store that power, to create quantum computing. It is literally the gateway to our future. Fuck being a gateway drug. It is the only gate that we need to walk through as a species in order to get from where we're going with the crumbling land before us to the paradise of tomorrow. And we either get there together, or frankly, we ain't gonna fucking get there.
No. Because I ain't gonna fucking change the world, and you're not gonna fucking do it. Not by ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Big up, Simon.
I'm happy to sit here every week to put the words to right, though.
Yeah, I know. Or try at least.
Wait, I'm just at the wrong camera. I'm in agony on my back, and I need.
All right, do you want to
phone call?
Yeah. Oh shit! Right. Okay, so we wrap it up then. If you have any last minute comments or questions, get them in. If you haven't subscribed yet, I've noticed there's another person on Twitch, and we've only got one. I know 10 was a bit fucking problematic, but you know, go on.
Hey, I'm happy with one, but if we get two, I'll be twice as happy. But again, thank you for sticking around for this, folks. This has been very much an experimental thing, which is what we like to do here at the Simpa Life. Maca talked me into this project, and we very much went, fuck it. Well, let's do it and see what happens. So if you viewed episode 0.5, you watched us find our feet throughout the creation of the podcast, how we were going to record it, format it, and get it out to you lovely folks. Now over 1,000 of you have downloaded it and been accessing it and listening to it, which is wonderful. We found our feet, I'd like to think, with that. And we'll find our feet with this. So we're new to Twitch, we're new to streaming live on YouTube, but we will be doing this on these platforms again in the very near future. So yeah, as Maca said, if you are watching us on whatever platform you are, please do like, subscribe, or whatever the term is on whatever said page you are viewing this on. Please do, if you've really enjoyed it, give it a share. And if you've really loved it, check us out on patreon.com/Simpa Life and check us a couple of quid a month to help us keep the lights on and to keep things going around here.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Chris is begging us to do it a bit more regularly.
We shall. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. It's nice off-the-cuff flow conversations. Good to have people who are involved. We're going to learn a bit, I think, over the next week, couple of weeks, what it is that we can do to put more on the output screen for you guys, and what I can do to have the correlated questions in one place. But yeah, it's a learning curve. So thank you for joining us with this experiment. I do hope you've enjoyed it.
Sonzi, send us some recommendations, mate, because I don't have much experience, to be quite honest. I'd like to actually learn a bit more, and you sound like you know what you're talking about. And I'm going to leave the context out there for Simpa because he hasn't a fucking clue.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it out of the corner of my eye. I'm seeing it. It's been a pleasure, folks. Right, as always, find